garden. I'm Donna. Most of you know that I love to grow Thai ingredients because I love Thai food. So what I want to do tonight is just gather up a few things. I have a lot of really nice Thai ingredients coming into the garden right now. I'd like to wait about another month to harvest all of it, but tonight I have some chicken that I've got to cook, and I thought it would be really good if I made kind of like a chicken stew with it. It's a, let's see, a dark meat chicken on the bone. So I'm thinking I'll get some galangal and lemongrass and some Thai basil, and I'm going to get a lot of things. I don't want to name them all right now, but you can come with me. We're going to gather these things up and go inside and put something really yummy together. It's going to have a lot of heat, and it's going to be sweet, and it's going to have coconut and lime and cilantro. All right, so let's get cooking. Okay, whenever I'm harvesting something, I like to have a little jar of water for the herbs that I'm going to collect, and then a bowl for any kind of root vegetables or anything like that that I need to wash off. So I'm going to go ahead and dig up some of this galangal over here. I think I'll just get this because I don't need a whole lot. Let's go ahead and get the next thing. Alright, I want to get some of this sweet Thai basil. I might not use all of this, but I'm going to go ahead and just get it anyway. Okay, some garlic chives. Okay, so I'll get a little lemongrass. Okay. I'm not going to use the blades. Okay, so we'll get some carrots too. Pretty nice carrot there. Okay, that should be good. Okay, and some sweet potato leaves. Like I said, I might not use all of this, but I like to have it so I don't have to run back out here and get it later in case I decide I want it. We're going to go get a few more things in my container garden. Okay, I want to get a lime, even though this has a little bit more maturing to do too, but I really want to use this zest tonight. So I'm going to take this lime and just a few lime leaves. And then of course we need some peppers. Okay, I want to get some of this Thai hairy lemon basil, very much of a citrus flavor to it. Okay, so I have some coriander drying here in the garage, and I want to get a little bit of this, and I'll just put that in a little plastic bag. Okay, I have some shallots drying over here, so I'm going to go ahead and get these also in my garage. Here we go. Well, I decided to start out by making a rich stock. What I want to do is make a rich sauce or gravy with this stew. And so I had harvested some sweet corn earlier that week, and I saved the cobs. So I'm putting 2 of those in there along with 2 cilantro roots. Those I froze from the summer's harvest, and they keep their flavor if you freeze them. So that's a good thing for stock. And then I'm also adding a little bit of Thai hairy lemon basil along with 3 halved Thai peppers. Those are hot peppers, very hot, and I'm keeping the seeds on them. So I let it simmer for about 3 hours, and it reduced by about 2/3. So I removed the chicken, and what I'm going to do, because I don't have time to put the stew together tonight, is I am going to put it in the refrigerator after it cools. I strained out the stock, and that's also going to go in the refrigerator for tomorrow. So I remembered that I had a beautiful butternut squash that I had harvested that prior week, and I thought that this would be wonderful for the stew. So I'm not going to use my carrots, and I decided to use the butternut squash instead. So what I'm going to do is halve it, and then I'm going to use the top part to make really nice and neat 1-inch cubes, and then the rest I'm going to reserve to make a puree. So I put this in a little pan. I'm going to bake it at 375. I drizzled it with a little bit of olive oil. After 20 minutes, I removed the cubes because I didn't want those to get overcooked, because I will have to add them back into the stew, and I want them to maintain their texture. But I did continue to cook the rest for 20 more minutes. So the next day, I was able to put my stew together. This is getting almost to the fun part. I've almost got all the work out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead here and clean all of the galangal root. I like to use a little toothbrush for that. And my lemongrass, I'm only going to use the last 2 inches of the stalk. And then I rinsed off my shallots. and it was time to clean the coriander. And I just rub that between my fingers and they'll fall right off, and then I can just rub them around and the debris loosens from the coriander, and then I can transfer that back and forth on paper, and it always leaves behind a little bit of debris on the paper, and then I'll just throw that away. So I just do this. It takes about 4 or 5 times, and until I don't see debris anymore on the paper, that's when I know that I've cleaned it well. And you know, this is just the seed to the cilantro plant, and so I harvested that when it turned a nice tan color. So all of my herbs are ready, and I am ready. So I'm going to go ahead and zest a lime. I want to make a sweet lime oil. I think that'll be nice on the on the final product of the stew. So the Kaffir limes are very bumpy and they zest very nicely. So I added 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar, and I just mixed it around a little bit to kind of try to draw out some of the oils of the zest. I covered it while I made my stew. I toasted the coriander seed, and then I transferred that to a coffee grinder and ground it to a nice fine powder so that I could use it in the stew as well. Now my stock was beautiful. I wanted to go ahead and get the fat off the top. It was nice and congealed. While I was doing that, I also was heating up some of my lemongrass stalks to get them sweet. I minced them so I could add it to the stock. I added 1 cup of the stock to my pot with about 3 peppers that were finely minced, 4 Kaffir lime leaves, and about a teaspoon of grated galangal that was mature that I had in my freezer. I added another cup of the stock, and then 1 teaspoon of sugar. And then my galangal that I harvested from the garden, I had actually split that in half so that some of the flavor could be released. And then also I added my powdered coriander. I also, over the summer, froze some green coriander seed, which is very soft. So I just mashed that in between 2 spoons. It has a flavor just like cilantro, so that went into there as well. I removed the chicken from the bones into really large chunks, and then I also, from the pan, removed the galangal and the leaves. I added the butternut squash that I reserved for the puree, and then I gave it a taste for the heat because I'm about to add sugar, and the sugar will offset that heat, and I want a lot of heat in it, so I didn't want to add too much sugar. I added 1 can of the coconut cream, and I let that melt down. Now you may see this and think, well, it's going to end up looking like a curry, and it does because the spices and the seasonings that I'm using are a lot like a curry. But the way I'm doing the sauce is quite different. I'm adding starch to this sauce to keep it thick. And so that's why I think it's a little different. You know, curries are either wet or dry, and when you make a dry curry, the sauce is very thick, and that is the result of letting all of the moisture evaporate while you're cooking it. And then if you have a wet curry, it's a very thin sauce. And so I'm actually adding starch to this with the butternut squash, and I'm also adding 1 teaspoon of tapioca starch to this to make it a little thicker. So I won't disagree with you if you want to call it a curry. I'm going to call it a chicken stew. And so I added 2 more peppers. I added all of my really chunky dark meat chicken. I added 1-inch cubes of the butternut squash, and I'm not going to stir this. I'm also transferring some of the mushrooms. These are mushroom caps with the stems removed, and then I quartered the shallots. So I just heated those up enough to release a lot of the moisture from the mushrooms, and I'm being careful not to transfer that moisture back into this pot here because there's a lot of water in my skillet. So like I said, I'm not going to stir it. I'm just going to let it simmer because I don't want to break up the chicken. Now for my oil, I went ahead and added 1 teaspoon of oil to the lime, and then I just ran that through the coffee grinder, and I transferred that to a little bottle, and I added 1 more tablespoon of grapeseed oil to that. Gave it a good shake, and it was a beautiful green color, and it will be perfect for the stew. I added a 1/2 cup of roasted and salted cashews. These are whole cashews, and again, I'm trying not to stir this. I just want to bring everything to a simmer, and I only had to simmer it for about 10 minutes because everything pretty much is cooked. And then I added my sweet potato leaves and about 10 Thai basil leaves. It was really nice. And then I was able to transfer it to my plate because it was time to eat. So I added a little bit of the lime oil on top and around the plate. My son did eat this as well, and he was loving the lime oil, as did I. So it's kind of sweet, and it was really good. So I added a little bit of the garlic chives and some of the Thai blossoms from the Thai basil plant, and then some of the calendula petals, which were the exact same color as the butternut squash, so that was fun. And then it was time to dig in, and I really enjoyed it. I liked all the seasonings. They all came together very well, and each bite was a little bit different because everything was so chunky. Sometimes I get a little cashew, sometimes a little shallot, sometimes a little chicken, and then sometimes just a little butternut squash with some mushrooms. So it was very nice. I ate it again later that day, and I felt like it was missing a little something, and it was nutmeg that it was missing. So I grated a little bit of fresh nutmeg on it, and it was really nice. So I'll probably be making this many more times, and I'll tell you a couple of variations. If you don't want to get all these spices at your local Asian market, you might be able to substitute just like 2 tablespoons of a red curry paste that you can pick up at your grocery store. The biggest difference there is that the red curry paste is probably going to have a little bit of flavor of garlic and cumin in it, which I'm not using, but I think it will be absolutely wonderful to do that. As a matter of fact, I'll probably end up doing that at some point too. And if you want to do a vegetarian option, that would be super easy. You can just start with a vegetable stock. I would add a lot more cashews, maybe a cup of cashews, and perhaps even use the big portobello mushrooms instead of the baby bella mushrooms. So I do hope you can try this recipe, and if there's anything that you have a question about, please leave it in the comment section. I'll be more than glad to help you, because there might be something I've overlooked, and if you have a question, others might have it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and have a beautiful day.